everybody. Sorry, I'm like 20 seconds late, I think. So giving you some time to get on. I know right now it is still just myself. Hey, Jennifer and Lucy. Awesome. I'm glad to see that you guys are hopping on. We're going to give it a little bit just to make sure that we get everybody, or give some folks some time to join. So this is going to be a weird perspective because I actually have my old cell phone doing Instagram Live and my current cell phone doing Facebook Live. So I'm going to do my absolute best to stay in the shot no matter what. But if I end up sort of being cut off a little bit, I apologize. It's going to be a little funky. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to see we already have a good crew. So we're giving people some time to join. I did share a link to a playlist that I made for class today. So if you need to hop off, find that in my stories. There's like a little thing that underneath my name that would say open in Spotify. You would click on that. I'll let you know when to turn it on if you are watching and you want to play that. I won't be playing it myself because that's a copyright violation and we are not interested in being shut down in this process. As always, guys, this is your practice. So I'm going to have some opportunities to modify with some props. I posted a video a couple days ago with some ways you could do that, but if you have like a box or a chair handy that you could use as a block substitute just to support your hands in standing postures, grab it. If you like to practice with a strap, you can use a belt, you can use a scarf, even like a towel rolled up. If you like to have a blanket handy to support your knees or to sit on, I recommend grabbing a towel. Fleece blankets are made to be smooth. They slide on themselves. If you have a Mexican blanket like we normally do in a studio, by all means grab that as well. I am filming in my apartment, so you are not going to get any responses to questions live. I do apologize for that. But I wanted to show you what it's like to modify in a small amount of space. And you're going to see here, I can't actually extend my arms above my head without hitting my ceiling. You'll notice that today's practice is very much in a vertical plane, so that you can see that if you have limited space in an apartment like I do, you can still do the yoga. So with that, I'll give folks like a couple more seconds to join us. And we'll go ahead and get started, I guess. Hey, great to see you guys. Sorry, it looks like the IG timed out for a second, but came back on. So apologies. Again, my old phone is doing Instagram. The new phone is doing Facebook. If you wanted to jump on Facebook instead, it's Hot Yoga Capitol Hill in DC. That's the page that we are on. Awesome. All right, guys. So let's get started today on our backs. And for any of my practitioners who are pregnant, who I know a few of you at the studio are expecting, feel free to do a fetal position or a comfortable seat instead. Otherwise, go ahead and come on your backs on the mat. And let's bring our feet about as wide as the mat is wide, or if you're not practicing on a mat, 2-ish feet. And let your knees knock in so that your knees are touching and supporting their own weight. From here, you've got the option to bring your hands to your belly. You can always bring your arms by your sides, palms face up. Arms above the head is okay, but it might pick up your heart rate and hurt your shoulders after a while, so just kind of take stock. And notice here, if you're kind of tensing into your low back, you can kind of wiggle just to settle in. Maybe you wiggle the shoulder blades a little bit closer to better support the chest. Let your chin tuck so your head's not rocking back. If that's not happening for you today, grab that blanket, that towel, put it underneath your head. And then just let your eyes close. And the first thing to do here with your eyes closed is just start to focus on your breathing. So notice just the texture. There's not a right or a wrong way to start here. And as you notice that texture, just kind of check and see if you're tensing anywhere. Are you holding tension in your throat, your neck, your shoulders? And as you continue to focus on that breath, can you make it bigger? By which I mean, can you make your inhales a little deeper? Can you make your exhales longer? And then each time you exhale, can you release a little bit of tension in your rib cage maybe, in your low belly? I took a survey a couple days ago on my Instagram to see how people were feeling, and what I got was that everybody's feeling pretty jittery. So today we're really going to focus on grounding, but we're also going to focus in on how we use the craziness of life, the stuff that makes us feel unstable, to give us strength and then therefore find balance. And I apologize, guys, it looks like the live feed on Instagram just crashed. So staying here on your back, just start taking big, deep inhales through your nose and big, deep exhales out your nose. And as you inhale through your nose, let your low belly totally fill up with air. And as you exhale out your nose, totally pull your belly button into your spine and empty every little bit of your air out. And then on your next inhale, from here, we're going to tuck the pelvis under. So what you're going to do is you're going to press your low back into the mat so your pelvis tilts towards the ceiling above you. And apologies, bring your feet hips distance, wiggle them in, and separate your knees. Now on your inhale, press your low back into the mat so you're tilting your pelvis towards the ceiling above you. Notice your low back pressing into the floor. It might not a little bit. And as you do that, notice that you feel a little bit of a squeeze through your pelvic floor, sort of like you need to go to the bathroom and you're holding it. A little bit of engagement here in your glutes, but not a ton. And then just let that release and let your back curve. So you'll notice that for me, that's a pretty big curve. I can stick my hands underneath my low back. Again, take a big inhale, tilt your pelvis up towards the ceiling. So that's that tuck of your tailbone we talk about so much in yoga. And as you do so, press the low back into the mat. Keep pressing into your big toes so your feet don't go all wonky. And now just intentionally squeeze a little bit more through your pelvic floor, not your glutes. That sensation instead of having to go to the bathroom and hold it. So you're pulling up through your pelvic floor. And then gently release that tuck. So what we're working on right now is, in yogic philosophy, your Muladhara chakra. It's your root chakra. For those of you who are sort of skeptical of chakras, think of this as a really great visualization tool, right? So again, tuck your pelvis under, press your low back into the mat, squeeze that little bit through your pelvic floor, and as you do so, notice that actually starts to pull in your low belly. So now intentionally do that. Pull your belly button to your spine, keep breathing, and as you pull the belly button in, think about lifting it up like it could come behind your rib cage so you feel your upper abdominal wall engaged. And if you're not sure, poke it. Right? Pretty easy to tell if it's engaged if there's some tension there. And then totally release at your spine curve. And again, just kind of let your body hang out. We'll do that one more time. So as you inhale, tuck your pelvis, press the low back into the mat, pull your belly button into your spine. From here, as you pull the belly button in, think about lifting it up so you're starting to engage through your upper abdominals, not your diaphragm, just your upper abdominals. From here, as you do so, keep your neck loose, your shoulders loose. As you do, can you pull in your low belly a little bit more without starting to curve your pelvis further up towards the ceiling? Keep pressing that low back down, and then gently start to release. So really working today on engaging through that pelvic floor, but also letting that lift through your pelvic floor help you engage your core. So to solidify this a little bit, we're going to do a teeny bit of core, just a little bit. So extend your legs up towards the ceiling, ankles stack above your hips. You always have the option here of taking your hands in a diamond shape underneath your low back. And this will just give you a little bit more stability as we continue to work through here. Feet can flex, feet can point, whatever makes you feel more stable. The purpose of this exercise is that we're going to work on stabilizing your pelvis as we engage through the core. So from here, pull the belly button in, think about lifting it up so you're engaging through your upper abdominals, squeeze your knees, big toes together, point through your toes. If you know your low back is pretty sensitive, start by bending your knees right away, but keep squeezing the inner thighs together. Take a big inhale here. And as you exhale, just start to lower your feet about a third of the way to the floor without losing that engagement from your core. If your low belly poofs up in like a dome shape, it means you're not using your lower abdominals, so stop there and come back up a smidge. And then just inhale to stack the ankles again above your hips. From here, you'll exhale, lower them about a third of the way. If you can go lower, that's okay, but feel free to stay higher. Feel free to bend your knees. And then exhale, inhale, bring your ankles back up. Again, exhale, keep pulling into the abdominal wall. Don't forget about your upper abdominals. We're working through your transverse abdominis. Inhale, back up. We're just gonna do 7 more like this, guys. So exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. Last one, or not last one, sorry, halfway there. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Remember, you're welcome to bend your knees as you exhale. Inhale, last 3. Last 2. Last 1. From here, if your hands are under your low back, go ahead and remove them. You're welcome to bend the knees here and bring them into your chest. You can give yourself a squeeze and kind of rock side to side. If it feels good, you're warm enough, you can always give yourself a big bear hug. Bring your forehead to your knees if that feels good. Then from here, with your hands on the backs of your thighs, ankles parallel, just start to rock up the spine nice and slow. If this is not comfortable for you, roll onto one side and just come onto all fours in a tabletop. You're welcome to rock all the way up to a tabletop, just getting that little stretch here between the vertebra. Oof. There we go. Maybe if you really enjoy boat pose, you take a couple breaths in boat. And then coming into your tabletop shape, starting to find that stacking through your joints. I'm going to back up so Instagram can see me too. Now, if any of you have sensitive knees, this is a great time to find your blanket, towel, or substitute and just bring it underneath your knees for some padding, though I would undo it so it's a little bit thinner. Up to you if that feels good. You could also take your mat and fold your mat over if you have your mat. From here, just look at your wrists, make sure that they're below your shoulders, and then check in with your hips, your knees. It's going to be harder to tell, but you want them stacked. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And then before we do cat-cow tilts, notice here that your spine very naturally wants to curve. So find that pelvic floor tilt we talked about a moment ago, right? Where you're tucking the pelvis under, you're pressing your frontal hip points, basically up below your belly button on the mat below you. And then pull into your lower abdominals, lift that up so it's behind your rib cage. You're basically just engaging your upper abdominals. That visualization is helpful for some of us. Find that long spine first. Instead of looking back, look a little bit in front of you so your neck is in line with the rest of your spine. From here now, we'll start some cat-cow tilts. So big, deep inhale, drop your belly, lift your gaze, cow pose. Exhale, arch your spine, tuck your chin, press the mat away. Now notice as you do so, you're gonna feel that pelvic bowl tilt. Inhale, notice that it tilts the opposite direction here. Exhale, can you squeeze just a little bit through your pelvic floor? Not normally what we do in cow, but notice that sensation. Sorry, cat. Big inhale. And big exhale. Now keep going here at your own pace. As you're working on these cat-cow tilts, on your inhales, think about pulling the shoulder blades back. You're retracting your shoulder blades. And on your exhales, think about protracting so you broaden through the shoulder blades as you pull in through that low belly. Again, on your inhales, can your belly be a little bit heavier? And then on your exhales, can you find a little bit more engagement? And free motion here is welcome if you would like it, though I believe we're on our last breath, so apologies for not saying so earlier. This is a great time to turn on that playlist if you're using the playlist I shared with you all. And then after your next exhale, if you're not on your exhale yet, go ahead and take your time, but meet me back in your tabletop shape. Now, as we come into our tabletop shape, lots of things to keep in mind here. The first being that we want to stack the joints. And I see that some of the comments are sort of blocking my hands on Facebook, so apologies for that. But you want to make sure that your wrist crease is parallel to the front edge of your mat. The inner part of your elbow is going to spiral forward. So you want typically to come here in a push-up. We're actually going to wrap the pointy parts of the elbows to face the back of the mat so the inner fleshy part of your elbow faces forward. This is just to make sure that you've got support here so that when we lower into our chaturungas, you have alignment in advance of coming into that shape. From there, with those wrapping of your biceps or your triceps, so the pointy parts of your elbows facing back, we're going to again check in here with our pelvic floor, right? So we're talking about that Muladhara chakra, that root chakra, that point of the base of your spine. So you're going to tuck the pelvis under, which is automatically going to pull in the low belly. It's very hard for that to not happen together. As you pull in the low belly, think about lifting it up to your upper abdominal so you have a long spine here. And then notice that your chest likes to collapse. So think about pulling the front of your rib cage to the backs of your ribs so that you have a broadening of your shoulders. You're protracting the shoulder blades, but pulling them down the spine so you're not bringing your shoulders to your ears. Now, from here, step your feet back to your push-up shape. Now, for those of you, I make myself shorter, for those of you who find that this is just not okay on your back or your wrist today, take your knees, untuck your toes. You can always do plank here, but make sure it's plank on your knees. I see a lot of people who just come back to tabletop. Not the same thing. So make sure that you're shifting that weight forward so your spine is still long, but be careful that you're not arching into your spine. You're still tucking through your pelvis as using your core. I know you've been holding here for a moment, so let's take just 2 more big deep breaths. And then as you're ready, curl your toes under, lift your hips to your downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now you'll notice that my hands and feet are the same distance that they just were in my push-up, but I'm going to shorten my stance just a teeny bit with my feet by about an inch or so, so I'm not sliding around. From here, I'm looking at my feet. They're about an iPhone's distance apart. I'm going to look at my hands real quick. They're still shoulders distance apart. My wrist creases are still parallel to the front edge of the mat. Now from here, my head's going to drop. I'm going to gaze at my toes. I'm going to I'm going to use my adductors of my thighs. I'm rotating my femurs in like I'm trying to squeeze my thighs together without moving my feet. If your low back is tight, bend your knees. Especially if you find that you're sort of here, bend your knees and then try to lift your booty up higher so you're pressing your chest back towards your thighs. If this is all just way too much, you have the alternative always when we're doing work in downward facing dog to instead come to your tabletop. Always, always, always an option. So if you're in your down dog and you're feeling like your setup is feeling pretty good, if you're not totally sure, you feel like your weight's in your shoulders, press the floor away from you, press the chest back, press your heels to the floor, even with your knees bent. Most of your weight should be in your feet. And if it feels good to pedal your feet side to side, go ahead. You can shake the head yes and no if that feels good. Just taking another big full round of breath here to kind of move around. And then on your inhale, without shifting forward, without moving the shape of your body at all, just lift your head and look to your hands. Bend your knees a lot, and then step your feet forward one at a time. Maybe you take many little steps, that's okay, and come into a forward fold. Now we'll start with the feet hips distance apart. You can measure that with your 2 fists, that's about your anatomical hips distance. And then bend your knees a lot so you can put your stomach on your thighs, or close to. From here, let your head hang heavy like you're trying to bring your forehead to your shins. Hands can stay on the floor. You can grab opposite elbow with opposite hand. Maybe you start to pedal out the feet. You can also interlace fingers at the nape of your neck. If you want a shoulder stretch, you can interlace fingers at your tailbone, add that in. Lots of options, guys. Just do what feels good for you today. This is all about what your body needs, not about what everyone else can do, not about what I can do. I guess you can only see me. Let's take a couple big breaths. And then slowly releasing your fingertips to the floor. Now this is a point where if the floor feels like it's kind of far away, I have a bin full of clothing here. You can always put something in front of you, rest your hands on that to give yourself some support. Maybe on its side, maybe on a chair. If you want and you have blocks, you can also bring your hands to blocks just to give yourself some support. Not a lot of weight should be in these things, right? Just enough to help you find balance in your core. From here, again, let's inhale to a flat back, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. My fingertips are on my shins. I'm rolling my shoulder blades towards each other and then away and down my back. Still using that low belly, still using that upper belly. It's pretty active. For those of you with spinal injuries, this is a big load. You're welcome to skip this shape. Then look a little bit in front of you. Exhale, forward fold Uttanasana. Bend in your knees on your inhale, just slow. Roll up one vertebra at a time, until you're standing at the top of your mat in Tadasana mountain pose. Now you have some options here. Depending on the style of practice you've done, that might tell you there's a right or wrong way. I say whatever feels best. So your feet can stay where they just were, or you can bring them together to touch. Whatever you prefer is totally up to you. But do spread your toes out wide and dig them into the mat. From here, we're going to check back in with our pelvic floor. We tend to forget about it here, so you might be rocking back into your spine. So tuck your pelvis under, right? So it's that sensation here of tucking the tailbone, but you're tilting the pelvis forward just a little bit and pulling in that low belly. Now make sure you're coming to neutral and not overcorrecting and rounding forward. As you do that, pull in the low belly, pull in the upper abdominals, relax through your shoulders, and close your eyes. If closing your eyes makes you feel dizzy, just gentle gaze on the floor. But from here, big breaths. Check in with that Ujjayi breath, that in and out through your nose. Maybe you set an intention. Maybe you just take a moment here to squeeze through your pelvic floor and notice that the base of your pelvis is supporting the rest of your torso right now. It's helping you find that length. And maybe you can find the oblique engagement just enough that you've noticed that you feel like you're lengthening through the side body. Big, deep inhale through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Fluttering your eyes open for sun salutation A. We're going to take an inhale to reach the arms up above the head. You'll notice I can't, so I'm going to cactus my arms goalpost style instead. Up to you. And on your exhale, bring your hands to heart center, namaskara, thumbs to the center of your ribs. Again, inhale to reach the arms up. Exhale, this time bring your hands to heart center, then fold, bend through your knees. All 10 fingers to the mat or to your block or your support. Inhale again to your flat back, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Exhale, fold forward, plant your hands, step your feet back to your plank pose, your upper push-up position. Now for any of my students who are pregnant, you're welcome to do cat-cow tilts instead of doing chaturanga vinyasas if that feels better. Maybe stay in child's pose if that feels good. Maybe do something else. For my folks who are doing chaturanga vinyasas with me, these are our transitions through yoga, or through most of our practice. They're our yogi push-ups. We'll modify our first one. So lower down to your knees, untuck your toes, make sure the inner parts of your elbows are wrapped towards the mat in front of you. Look a little forward, take a big inhale. Exhale, lower to a half push-up. From here, lower all the way to your belly. Bring your feet hips distance apart. We're going to take a big inhale, press the feet down so your knees lift, and lift the chest up just a little bit here using your spinal strength. You could lift your hands to test that. Exhale to release. Plant your hands, curl your toes, find that push-up from your knees or your toes, and then lift your hips, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So that is option 1. Feel free to stick with option 1 if that feels good. We'll do the full variation here next. On your inhale, look forward to your hands. Again, don't shift your torso forward. Bend your knees, look to your thumbs. Just step your feet forward. Maybe step with your non-dominant foot to the top of your mat. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. This time, inhale, reverse swan dive to stand. Extend the arms, maybe cactus if you, like me, have a short ceiling. And exhale, hands to heart center. Again, inhale to circle up, reach up. You can always look up if that feels good on your neck. Exhale, hands to heart, fold forward, low belly is in. All 10 fingers to the mat or your support. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold, plant your hands, step back to your push-up. You are welcome to take this from your knees again if that felt good. Again, you're welcome to skip this entirely if this is not great for you today. Wrap your inner elbows to the top of your mat. Make sure you're squeezing through your inner thighs, through your core. Look a little forward. Inhale, shift a bit forward. Exhale, lower to your half push-up. Inhale, upward facing dog. Roll the shoulders back. Notice my knees, my thighs are not on the mat. Lift up through the low body. And then exhale to curl your toes, lift your hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Stay in your down dog. I know I just lowered to my knees so I can talk to y'all and breathe. For those of you who are still hanging out, hang in your down dog or your tabletop. Big deep breaths. Now, those are always optional. They are never required. Feel free to skip them. Feel free to rest. Feel free to take child's pose. For those of you who are newer, we haven't talked about child's pose. I apologize. We'll get to that shape later. You can always hang out in tabletop again if that feels better. Just take one more big full breath with me. Inhale, look forward to your hands. Bend your knees. Don't shift your torso. Just step your feet forward. Forward fold. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. This time bring your feet to touch. Big toes, knees together. Sun salutation B. Inhale to your chair pose. Now, from here, look down. Can you see your toes? If not, roll the weight back. For those of you who feel like this is too much in your shoulders, cactus your arms, goalpost style, pinkies in. You can also reach forward. This is a really great way to help counterbalance if you're feeling pretty wobbly. But as you do so, check in with your pelvis. Make sure that you're not bending through your low back, right? Pull that low belly and tuck the pelvis under so that you have that nice long spine. And this is just to help make sure that you're keeping the integrity of your spine. You're using your core. Now, if you can, sit a little lower so you feel your quads fire up, right? It's not going to be fun because your muscles are working, but breathe in and out through your nose. Nice, big, full breaths. Let's do 2 more. Can you sit a little bit lower? Last one. And this time on your inhale, straighten your legs. Bring your hands to heart. Stand tall at the top of your mat. And just take a moment to sigh that sigh of relief. Whew. Standing tall. Big breaths in and out through your nose. One more. So this is that part where we're going to practice how being shaky and fidgety in life can help us find balance and grounding by encouraging us to use our strength. So we're going to plant down through our right foot. Feel free to test that with your left and right and your thumbs, right? Make sure that you're using the right foot. Hands at heart, option 1, hands on your hips, option 2. But plant down through your right foot, squeeze your toes into the mat, and take an inhale. Bring your left thigh up parallel to the floor with your leg at a 90-degree angle, with flexing your toes back towards your face. Now, small bend in that standing leg is okay. Big bend is too much, right? So pull up to your standing quadricep. It's going to feel like you're lifting your kneecap up. As you do so, really pull in through your pelvic floor. So you're lifting up to that Muladhara chakra. You're pulling in that low belly. You're pulling in the upper part of your abdominal wall. Take a big, deep inhale here. On your exhale, we're going to find warrior 3. You're going to go very slow. Start to tilt the torso forward. Slowly extend that left leg long behind you. Now, for those of you who feel really wobbly, grab your support. I've got my box here full of my sweaters. I'm going to put my hands on this as an option. Your other option, of course, is to put your hands on a chair. If you can reach the floor, that's okay. But really try to work on our balance. Instead, can you keep your hands at heart or on your hips? You can also extend them forward if that helps you find your balance. Notice that your hip wants to jack up. Don't let it. Square it down to the floor instead. Really pull into that low belly to find your stability. Just take one more inhale. Exhale, put a big bend in that right knee. Step your left foot back. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I'm going to move forward so y'all can see me. Hanging out here in your crescent lunge. When you feel stable, let's actually start with our hands on our hips. So take that back. Put a bend in your left knee. And then with your thumbs, find these little nubs here that are part of your pelvis, right? Part of that bone structure. And just encourage that left hip forward. Notice you want to back off the front knee. Don't let yourself. Keep shifting forward so that's a 90-degree angle or so. And then check back in. Pull in the low belly. Pull in the upper part of your abdominal wall. If that feels stable, now extend the arms. Big inhale. And big exhale. So you're in crescent lunge, Anjaneyasana. If this is a lot, lower down to your back knee. That's always, always an option. But really plug down into your right big toe. Don't let your knee knock in. And reach actively without bringing your shoulders to your ears. Let your shoulders relax. Take a big inhale here. And your exhale, spin that back heel flat. Find your warrior 2. You'll notice I just hit the ceiling to get into this shape. Now take a moment here. Bring your hands to your hips again. Look at that front foot. Just make sure that your right heel is roughly in line with the arch of your left foot. Your left foot's at 90 degrees parallel to the back edge of the mat. So you're not splaying the feet out. And then look at your right knee. Notice it wants to knock in. Don't let it. Use that inner right thigh to open up. And then just check in here. Something I see really often in class is you work so hard on the back, finding that stability through your feet. You forget out your low back, you stick your booty out. So pull that low belly and tuck through your pelvis. It's going to require you to pull the chest back. It uses more core work, so it's harder. And then from there, if it feels okay on your arms, extend them out parallel to your shoulders. Palms down. You can always squeeze the fingers together or you can keep them splayed, but make sure they're active. I recommend gazing over that front middle finger. Big deep breaths. Take 2. So we're going to add in just a little bit more of that instability here so that we can find stability in our practice. So reaching across the chest. Take a big inhale. Now on your exhale, find a little bit of mobility in that back leg. We're going to slowly pivot onto the ball of that foot and come back into our crescent lunge. It's going to be wobbly. I'm totally wobbly. So reach through your fingertips and then exhale back to your warrior 2. We're going to do that 2 more times. Big inhale, find your crescent. Big exhale, gracefully or not, find your warrior 2. Wobbles encouraged. Last time, big deep inhale. Big deep exhale. Whew, I'm shaking. Last time, big inhale, find your crescent. Exhale, 2 hands down to frame that right foot. Now pause. Now if the floor feels too far away from you, grab your block. Support the hands. So press that left hip forward. You know what? I forgot what we were doing. I take it back. On your inhale, come back to your crescent. Bend into that back knee. Slowly step the left foot to the right foot. Wobbly or not, find your chair pose once more. I know it's wobbly. And then straighten your legs, hands to your heart. Sigh that sigh of relief. I did it. And close your eyes. Big deep breath through your nose. Out through your mouth. Again, in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Last time. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna find that adversity, that wiggle, and then we're gonna find that stability and we're gonna breathe. Sound good? So from here, go ahead, take an inhale, extend the arms above the head. Exhale, hands through heart center, low belly in, forward fold. Inhale to your flat back, half lift. Exhale, fold forward, plant your hands, step your feet back. Feel free to take your knees. Inhale here. Exhale, chaturanga from your knees or your toes. Inhale, low, coming into your baby cobra or your upward facing dog. Exhale to release, curl your toes, lift your hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Take a big full breath. Without shifting the torso forward, inhale, look to your hands, bend the knees. Exhale, step your feet forward. Forward fold. I'm going to turn around so y'all can see me on the other side. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, chair pose, sink your hips. I'm going to reach forward because my ceiling is lower here. I don't want to hit it. Roll that weight back, tuck your pelvis under, sit a little bit lower, full breath. Inhale, straighten your legs, bring your hands to heart center, stand tall, Tadasana, mountain pose. This time we're going to plant down through our left foot. So again, feel free to test that out here with your hands. Hands at heart, option 1, hands on your hips, option 2. Take an inhale, bring that right thigh up parallel to the floor, flex the right toes back. 90 degrees in that leg. Again, small bend in your standing leg is okay. Big bend is a lot, right? So lift up through your standing quadricep. Really plug down into your left big toe. Take an inhale here. On your exhale, we're going to slowly find our warrior 3. So as you do so, start to tilt the torso forward. You're going to slowly extend that right leg long behind you. Same thing, don't let your hip open up, square it down. Reach actively through that back heel like you're trying to kick the wall behind you. Pull in the belly. You can always brace the hands on the floor or a block if you need to, or support of some sort, but take an inhale. Exhale, small bend in that left knee. Step the right foot back. Find your crescent lunge. Bring your hands to your hips first. I'm going to wiggle forward so y'all can see me here. Mostly. Excellent. Same thing, bend that back knee. Thumbs to those nuts. Press the right hip forward. Shift forward into that front thigh. Pull in through the low belly. Pull in through the upper belly. Find your shape. When you're ready, you can extend the arms. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Keep shifting forward into that front thigh. If you're finding that your knees here, just widen your stance. Give yourself some better support. Take a big inhale. Exhale, find your warrior 2. Spin that back heel flat. Again, bring your hands to your hips. Just take a moment. Left ankle or heels in line with the arch of your right foot. Engaging through that inner left thigh, which means you have adductor muscles here that wrap your femur in. So if you start to squeeze through your inner thigh, you're going to feel it kind of fire up through your inner thigh here into your knee. That's what we're going for. It also connects to your pelvis. Go figure. Then firmly press into the pinky toe side of the right foot so their back leg is active and engaged. And then if that feels okay, extend the arms. Now, same thing as you reach across the chest, keep pulling in through your upper abdominals. You're not forgetting about your rib cage here. You don't want to press your heart forward. Really keep everything in line. Maybe you gaze over that front middle finger. 2 big breaths. From here, on your inhale, we're going to pivot back very, very slowly. Feel free to shorten your stance this midge first into your crescent lunge. Take your time. Hands can always come to your hips. Exhale, spin your back heel flat. Warrior 2. Again, inhale, nice and slow. Find your crescent lunge. Press that right hip forward. Exhale, warrior 2. Last time. Inhale, crescent. Slow. Exhale, warrior 2. Last time. Inhale, crescent. Now find a little bit of give in that back knee. Look forward. Pull into that low belly. Step the right foot to the left. Even if it's not graceful, even if it's more of a shimmy. Awesome. Shimmy is encouraged. Weight is in your heels. Sit your hips low. Inhale. Exhale, straighten your legs, hands to heart. Breathe. Big breath through your nose. Out through your mouth. Again. Last time. So we're going to do that one more time, breath to movement. So I'll talk you through your Chaturanga Vinyasa first. Inhale, extend the arms above the head, extended mountain. Exhale, hands through heart, low belly in, forward fold. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, fold forward, plant hands, step back, plank. Inhale in your plank, exhale from knees or toes, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, Downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. From here, without shifting forward, bend the knees, look to your thumbs, inhale. Exhale, step your feet to the top of your mat, forward fold. I'll turn around so y'all can see me here. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold, inhale, chair. Now I'm going to hang out in chair for just a moment with you guys to encourage you to take your time. So I'm going to go breath to movement. If that's too fast, go slower. If you're a little bit behind me, who cares, right? Take your time. Make sure that you're moving in your body's range of motion, that you're taking your time to feel good in your shapes, even if it's not quite a breath to movement sequence. Take another big inhale. Exhale, straighten your legs, draw your hands to heart. Tadasana, mountain pose. Press down into that right big toe, lift that left hip parallel to the floor. Take an inhale, stand tall. Exhale, warrior three, slow, 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 slow. Take your time, reach that heel. Gently bend into the right knee, step the left foot back. Inhale, crescent lunge, Anjaneyasana. Exhale, warrior two, Virabhadrasana two. Now adding that breath to movement pulse. Inhale, back to your crescent, go slow. Exhale, warrior two, really, really active and mindful. Inhale, back to your crescent. Exhale to your warrior two. Last time, inhale, crescent. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, crescent lunge, bend into that front leg, find some give in the left knee, step the left foot to the right foot, chair. Exhale, straighten your legs, draw your hands to heart. 3 big breaths. 2. Last one. Fluttering your eyes open. From here, inhale, reach the arms above the head, mountain pose. Exhale, hands through heart center, fold forward. Forward fold. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, fold forward, plant your hands, step back to your plank. Inhale, in your push-up. Exhale from knees or toes, lower to your chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale to curl your toes, lift your hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Inhale, look to the top of your mat. Exhale, without shifting your torso forward, just step your feet to meet your hands, forward fold. Inhale to your flat back, half lift. Exhale, forward fold, feet together, chair pose, inhale. Exhale, straighten your legs, draw your hands to heart center, namaskara. Plant down through your left foot. On your inhale, bring your right thigh up parallel to the floor, flex your toes back. On your exhale, warrior three, slow, 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 slow. Bring your body parallel, reach through the heel. Bend into that left knee, step the right foot back, or the ball of your foot, not your heel. I didn't say that earlier, I apologize. Inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two, is that back heel flat. Adding in those pulses here, inhale, crescent lunge. Exhale, warrior two. Keep pulling in that low belly, inhale. Exhale. Last time, inhale. Exhale. Inhale, crescent lunge. Bend into your left knee. Exhale, chair pose. Inhale, straighten your legs, hands to heart. Big exhale. 3 big breaths. So adding in that free motion here, that stuff that's intentionally a pretty challenging sequence, and then landing with our feet together, standing tall at the top of the mat, finding that grounding, finding that stability through your pelvic floor. Last big breath. Flutter your eyes open if they're not already. Inhale, extended mountain. Exhale, hands to heart, fold, low belly in, fingertips to the mat or your support. Inhale, flat back, half lift. Exhale, fold forward, plant your hands, step back to your push-up. Inhale here. Exhale from knees or toes, lower to your chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale to curl your toes, lift your hips. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. In your down dog, big open mouth. Exhale, empty out your lungs. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. One more time. Big exhale through your mouth. Inhale, look forward, bend your knees. Exhale, just lower down to your knees. Come to a seat in the center of your mat. Awesome, you guys. I am sure that you are killing it. I'm really bummed I don't get to see you. It's a lot of fun to have you in the room. This is weird, I'm not gonna lie. But from here, just take a couple moments. If you have some water, take a sip of water. If you're sweating, wipe your sweat. Now, we're just gonna take a moment here to work on our crow pose. Bakasana. For those of you who have a solid practice, who know what you're doing, who want a headstand, handstand, fancy, whatever else you would like to do here, do it. For those of you who are like really not into it right now and you want to do something else, that's okay as well. Of course, I'll teach you crow pose now, but first let's do some wrist stretches. So go ahead and bring your arms to a cactus shape parallel to your shoulders and make some fists with your hands, but make sure your thumb is excluded. You're not squeezing your thumb into your fist. Squeeze your fingernails into your palms a little bit though, so you're pretty active here through the arms, and just start to make circles one direction with your wrists. If you're hearing some popping, go a little slower. Don't try to make as big of circles. And then go ahead and switch the other direction. And again, switch, go back the first way. One more time, the other direction. And then as you go ahead and release, bring your hands to your thighs. We're going to take that right hand, extend it out so the palm faces forward. And from here, take your left hand and just grab your fingertips and pull the fingertips back towards your face. So from the side, it looks like this. I've heard to say sit comfortably, guys. However is comfortable. Hips on my heels is comfortable for me. Feel free to sit cross-legged. As you pull the fingertips back, keep pressing the heel of your hand forward. It might not feel like a big stretch, but you're still getting something out of this, I promise. Just take 2 more big breaths. And then gently release that stretch in your hand. Feel free to make a fist and twist it out if you feel a lot of sensation. And then switch. We'll bring the left hand forward, press the palm forward, flex the fingers back. Then right fingertips grab the fingertips of the left hand, pull them backwards. Again, not necessarily a big stretch, but keep pressing the heel of your left hand forward. We'll come to this side again so you can see what that looks like. Sorry, the black is hard to distinguish on my arms. As you keep pressing forward, just make sure you're not starting to round here. Keep sitting up nice and tall. You're still using your core even as you sit tall, right? That's going to help stabilize your spine even when you start to add in bigger movements. 2 more breaths. Last one. And then gently releasing that again. If it feels like a lot, you can make a fist and just release it for a moment. Now from here, we're going to work on our crow pose Bakasana. It is an arm balancing posture, but it's a little tricky in that it seems like it's all about your upper body, but it's really very much about your core. So to come into the basic shape, I actually recommend that you start in a little squat with your big toes together. For those of you who feel like your legs are maybe longer than your arms are long, you can grab a block and stand on a block, maybe a book. I do not recommend trying to stand on like this Tupperware box, right? That will probably result in you crashing and burning in a not fun way. From here, I'm going to separate my knees as wide as I can. For me, it's pretty wide. For you, if that's here, that's totally fine. Hands are going to set up like we did in that tabletop shape before finding down dog. So my hands are shoulders distance. My wrist crease is parallel to the front edge of the mat. My elbows are wrapping in, so the pointy parts of my elbows are facing the back of the mat. From the side, that looks like this. Now from here, without moving my arms, I'm going to keep a slight bend. I'm going to come high on my feet and start to walk my knees as close to my shoulders as I can. If nothing else, make sure your knees are above your elbows. Again, above your elbows. Now I'm pulling my low belly in a lot. Don't look down and back. It's what you want to do, but don't. You'll just fall. Look forward. And from here, keep bending your elbows like your chaturanga, where it's at that 90. As you lean forward, try to stack the elbows above the wrist. Now, this might be plenty. You might just be like, this is a weird squat, and stay here. This is still great work. If this feels good, or stable-ish, maybe, lean forward a bit more. Just pick up one foot, pull your heel to your booty, and lean forward. Without looking forward, don't look down, look forward. If that feels okay, put the foot down. Keep checking your arms, wrap them in, lean forward again. Maybe the other foot can come up and breathe. You're going to do that until you feel pretty stable. If that feels good, plant through your palms, wrap the inner elbows towards the front of your mat. High on the balls of the feet, knees as high as they can go. Look forward, lean forward, create that shelf. Maybe one foot comes up. To come all the way up, we're going to lean forward a little bit more. Maybe both feet come up. I'm going to pull my heels to my bum. I'm bringing my big toes together. Whew. And then I'm going to release my feet back down. So, again, if today you're like, I don't know about that, Kayleigh, hang out at any point that feels like it's enough, right? We're not trying to be perfect. Yoga is not about perfection. It's about the practice, right? It's about coming here, sometimes falling on your face. If you try to fall on your face, just let yourself fall, tuck and roll, you'll be totally fine. We'll set it up one more time if you guys are not already working on it. So again, feet together, hands, shoulders width apart. On your balls of your feet, come up really high. Knees as high up your arms as you can go. Now, if that's kind of difficult, you can always try to bring your knees to the backs of your arms instead, like you're trying to put your knees in your armpits. For some of us, this is more accessible, often if you're longer. Bend the elbows, look forward, lean forward. Maybe one foot comes up. Maybe you lean forward a little bit more. Maybe both feet come up. Maybe you lose your balance and you fall forward. That's okay. Give it like one more good college try. And I'm going to come up and see if I can answer any questions, if there are any questions. Everything just says everybody's watching. Awesome. So if you're wrapping up, go ahead and wrap up in the next like moment or so. And then we're going to go ahead and meet in child's pose. So when you're like, cool, I tried the weird thing, Kayleigh, thank you. Go ahead and come to the back of your mat. I'm sitting my hips on my heels. My big toes are together and my knees are coming out about as wide as the mat is wide. So from the front, looks like this. And then from here, I'm going to take off my glasses. You'll see why. Set them aside. I'm just going to walk the body forward and start to allow the forehead to the mat, the forearms to the mat, so my elbows are down. And this is your child's pose. If your knees are sensitive, you can put a support under your knees. You can also walk yourself forward, especially if your forehead's not yet on the mat. And this will give you better stability. From the front, it looks a little bit like this. Let's take a few rounds of breath in our child's pose. So as you settle into the shape, if you find that it is just not okay for you and you would prefer to be in a fetal position, that's totally okay. And just kind of take a moment here and take stock. You might have forgot you should be breathing, so just check in, are you breathing? If you are, you're feeling okay, you're feeling pretty stable. Now to start to do that full body scan again. Is there tension in your hips, in your neck, your shoulders? Can you let that relax? So as we focus here on our Muladhara chakra, again, we're having these moments of you just tried crow pose, you were on your hands, you were balancing precariously, and now you're fully solidly on the floor. You're being totally supported by gravity pressing you into your mat, literally, right? So your Muladhara chakra, that base chakra, your root chakra, is that sense of safety, stability, being grounded. And so again, creating that stability from the base up to support ourselves in adversity and crazy yoga postures that you're trying with Kayleigh on Instagram and Facebook Live, you know, throughout life, right? This is how we start to cultivate that mindfulness in a yoga practice to take off the mat. As you are ready in your next breath or so, feel free to take some water along the way. Go ahead and meet me in a plank pose for just a moment. And then here you have the option to take a Chaturanga Vinyasa as a reset and meet me in down dog, or if you prefer, just go ahead and go straight to your down dog, but wrap those under elbows and look forward as you do so. And when you get to that down dog, if you're not there yet, don't rush, take your time. Everybody, big exhale out your mouth. Inhale through your nose. Out your mouth. One more time. Now again, inhale up to your hands, bend the knees. Exhale, just come to stand on your knees in the center of your mat. So from here, we're going to do 2 rounds of camel pose. For my folks who do not like camel pose, if you would prefer to lie on your back and do bridge or wheel, you have that option. For those of you who backbending just makes you feel very dizzy, I'm going to give you another option. So for those of you who do not really enjoy backbending much, maybe you feel pretty dizzy or kind of gross whenever you do them, you have the option of bringing your knees all the way together. You can keep your feet together, or if you have a block or a bookend, you can separate the feet so you can sit on your block. And from here, you're just going to bring your fingertips to the floor behind you. And if your fingertips aren't quite on the floor, this is a great time to find those supports you have with you. I have blocks, you might have books, and put your hands on those. But make sure you're not leaning back, you're keeping the shoulders stacked. So option 1, this is your option 1, is to press the fingertips into the mat behind you, roll the shoulders back, but without pressing the chest forward, right? You're going to keep tucking through your pelvis. So you're not here, you're here. And on your inhale, you'll roll the shoulders back, drop the head back. Now just press the chest forward, not your low back, as you drop the head to where it feels good. It might be here, it might be here. If this feels okay, that's fine. And that's your option 1. So very gentle back bend, but still a back bend. We've already done a bunch in those Chaturanga Vinyasas. Option 2, setting up for regular old camel pose. Knees will be hips distance apart. Again, it's about 2 fists. Feet are hips distance. They're not together. They're not out here. They're in line with your knees. From the side, it will look like this. From here, hands come to your low back. Pinkies and thumbs out, palms flat against your spine. I'm rolling my shoulders back. Now, the first thing, notice your spine wants to curve, so take your hands, tuck the pelvis under. You're squeezing a little bit through your glutes, but more importantly, you're pulling in the low belly still. You're wrapping it to your lower abdominals, wrapping your shoulders back, pulling into that low belly. You'll take a big inhale to pop out your chest. Now, when you do that, press your hips forward. And this might be plenty. You might just stay here, right? So feel free to stay. This is your option 2. Option 3, you might lean back a little bit more. If this feels okay, option 4, press the hips further forward, lean back. Maybe you see the wall behind you. If you do, one hand at a time, you can find your heels. But don't stay here. Notice I'm collapsing in my low back now. When you get your heels, press your hips forward, roll the shoulders back again, and squeeze through your inner thighs like you're trying to bring them to touch, but you can't. I'm going to come back up. It's a little bit much for me today. Let's just take 2 more big breaths. Last one. Now bring your hands to your low back before you do anything else. Inhale, slow, rise up. Feel free to bring the feet to touch as you sit your hips on your heels. And if this is not okay on your knees, if this is not okay on your low back, lean to one side, cross your legs. Now up to you, palms can come face up, palms can come face down, but do bring your hands to your knees, either sitting like this or like this. Close your eyes if that feels okay, or look in front of you if that makes you dizzy. Big breaths. Just take 3 big breaths. 2. Last breath. All right, so again, we took a moment to destabilize. We did something that for many of us is a little jarring, and now we're grounding, we're stabilizing by taking a moment here to breathe. We'll do just 1 more round of that. So again, your first option, option 1, is to sit like this, fingertips behind you, just arching through your chest, not your low back. You're going to keep tucking the pelvis. It's just through your chest. Option 2, coming into your full camel pose, knees and feet hips distance. Now, third option this time is going to be a little bit different. You can bring your big toes to touch and separate your knees, so you're making a triangle, right? So triangles are very sturdy shapes. You want to make sure your toes touch. If they start to splay, it's going to be really hard to maintain your balance. And this is just if you're feeling like a deep back bend is accessible. So I'm actually going to come back myself to knees and feet hips distance. Up to you though. Don't feel like I have to do what I'm doing. Again, hands to your low back, pinkies and thumbs out. Wrap the shoulders back. Use your hands to tilt the pelvis. You're squeezing into that low belly through your pelvic floor, through your upper abdominals. Roll the shoulder back. And again, option 1, you might just stay here. This might be plenty. Option 2, press the hips forward. Drop the head back. If that feels okay, keep pressing the hips forward, keep leaning back. If you can see that wall, maybe reach for your heels, but not a requirement. If you grab the heels, keep pressing the hips forward. Make sure you're not collapsing in your low back. Take a moment wherever you are, roll the shoulders back. One more time, press the hips forward. Take a big full breath. And then bring your hands back to your back if they're not there. Inhale slowly to rise. Let your hands hold some of your weight. Exhale, hips on your heels. Again, palms on your thighs, face up, face down. Feel free to sit cross-legged, but when you're comfortable, close your eyes and breathe. Big breaths. Let's do 2 more. Last one. Now flutter your eyes open. Go ahead and shift your weight to one side. Extend those legs long in front of you. We're going to come into a round of forward folding, but at this point we've done a lot of back bending just through our chaturanga vinyasas. So I'm going to give you some options here to make this a little bit more of a flop. I'm going to call it a flop, than per se like a very structured fold so that you have some support. So you very much have the option to sit on a block or a book if you have one of those. Maybe you take your towel or your non-fleece slidey blanket and you sit on that. I have it rolled up a few times here, right? And the reason that you might sit on something is that this tilts your pelvis forward automatically, right? So here sitting on the under a little bit, but with the support here, it just automatically tilts the pelvis and it helps lift up. So if you feel like you round a lot, it's a great option. I'm actually going to recommend that we all bend our knees quite a bit, but notice that I'm still pulling my toes back to my face. I'm squeezing my knees and thighs together. If you're pregnant, you might actually want to bring your feet about hips distance apart, or even if you have a little bit more girth, this might be more comfortable for you. But make sure you don't forget about your feet. Keep pulling them back. I'm going to take off my glasses. You'll see why here in a second. Big inhale, stretch the arms. On your exhale, pull that low belly in so you can literally physically put it on your thighs, or pretty close to being on your thighs. Instead of grabbing your feet, reach one arm underneath your thighs. Take that other arm, reach it underneath your thighs. If your feet are hips distance, you might just grab your thighs. And then from here, tuck your chin, put your face on your knees. So very supported forward fold, not requiring any mobility. This is all just gravity. Notice if your shoulders are with your ears, let your shoulders relax down your back so you're not gripping for dear life. You're just kind of comfortably hugging a teddy bear that happens to be your thighs. Now, if you have more room here in your body, you want to come in a little deeper, you can wiggle your heels forward, and that'll just get you a deeper stretch in your low back. If that feels like too much on your low back, keep the knees pretty bent. No right or wrong here, but just relax through your shoulders. Keep pulling those toes back towards your face without letting your toes separate. Keep the toes together. Unless feet are hips distance, then just make sure that your joints are in one line. And breathe. Two more. Last breath. From here, gently release those thighs. Walk yourself back up to a comfortable seat. If you, like me, are sitting on something, go ahead and shift forward and move that something off to the side. From here, we're going to bring the feet flat on the floor, about hips distance. So again, you can measure that with your two fists. From here, I'm going to wiggle my hips a little bit closer to my heels. I'm actually going to scoot forward so y'all can see me. And then hands to your thighs. Use that low belly to pull the chest forward, but then slowly recline down onto your backs. When you get there, plant down firmly through your right foot. Cross your left ankle above the right knee, figure four style. You might walk your foot to the center of the mat. From here, bring your left hand to your inner left thigh and just gently encourage the knee away from you. So this is option one. This might be a great place to stay. This is reclined pigeon. If this feels good, you're going to take your hands and reach in between that shape you just made with both hands and grab back of your right thigh, not your knee, your thigh. From there, you'll just pull the knees into the chest, but notice my toes are pulling back towards my kneecap proper. I'm still using my left elbow to encourage the left knee open a little. I'm not forcing it. I'm just gently nudging it. From here, just taking a couple big breaths. If it feels good to stretch that right leg long, grab your calf, you can, but make sure your head stays down, your chin stays tucked. 2 more big breaths. Last one. Gently bring that right foot back to the floor. Uncross the left ankle, plant it on the mat. Now right ankle crosses above the left knee. Use your right hand to gently press the right knee away from you. From here, you can stay here. Option 1. Option 2, grab the back of your left thigh with both of your hands, interlacing the fingers. Whew, this side's a little tighter. Maybe your right elbow encourages that knee open. You can stay here. Third option, final option, extend that leg long. Maybe you grab your calf. I'm actually going to back out to that first step myself because that's a little tight on my hip today. Big full breaths. Let's take 2 of them. One more. And gently uncross that right ankle, both feet flat for just a moment, and then bring your knees back into your chest. From here, you're going to take your arms and bring them up parallel to your shoulders, T-shape, cactus shape, depending on the space you've got available to you. Wiggle your hips first to your left. Feel free again to check that out first. And then drop your knees to the right. My knees are still stacked. If this for you is really uncomfortable, you are welcome to put a pillow between your thighs. You could also take that top foot and bring it flat on the floor. That might be more comfortable and better support for you. But do your best to encourage this left shoulder to stay firmly planted. Maybe you look towards your left fingertips like I am. If that hurts your neck, look at the ceiling. Big, full, deep rounds of breath here. Last one. On your next inhale, just slowly come back to center. This time, wiggle your hips a little to your right. Drop your knees to the left. Now, same thing. If this is too much, you can always bring that right foot flat. You can always put a pillow between your thighs, but try to keep that right shoulder down. You can always look over that right shoulder or look up at the ceiling, up to you. Letting that right shoulder encourage towards the mat without rocking the spine backwards. Take 2 big breaths. Beautiful, you guys. On your next inhale, come back to center with both of your knees. You can give yourself a hug if it feels good to make yourself into a small ball and squeeze. Feel free to wiggle side to side. Instagram here is about to kick me off, so as you are ready, slowly start to find your way into your Shavasana, your corpse pose, your final resting shape. Now, lots of options here. As you come into that shape, you are welcome to bring your feet, your arms wider than the mat is wide. If you don't have that much space, maybe the feet come a little closer. But notice that your spine wants to rock, so tuck the pelvis under again. Not forcefully, just enough that you got some stability. Wiggle the shoulder blades in, let your chin tuck, and close your eyes. If it feels good, palms are face up by your sides. If that doesn't feel comfortable, just bring your hands to your low belly to support your spine. And with your eyes closed, just take a big exhale out your mouth, sigh out your air. Now take a big inhale through your nose, out through your mouth. I'm going to let you stay here and rest. Come back to your natural breathing pattern. Let yourself relax. If you have time, please do stay here and rest. You have plenty of it, I hope. Definitely have lots of opportunities this week to practice with us, though, so if you need to get up and get moving, give yourself that time later. I know that we're all a little stressed out, but please remember that self-care, that this time to breathe is so, so, so important. Thank you to everyone who joined us. I see that we had quite a few people on both mediums. Apologies to Instagram for that slight error there. And I hope you all have a great week. I hope that you and yours are doing as well as you can be at this time. Namaste.